What is going on, guys? MMA Island team, we got the fight picks and we got the main event of the evening. I will leave it to Bruce Buffer and I will leave it to the fight itself because Anderson Silva, legendary career, one of the greatest of all time, in some people's eyes. I will leave the debate for somebody else, but man, Anderson Silva capping off a legendary career, at least hopefully capping off a legendary career, because we do see those fighters come back, and I think Anderson Silva at 45 years of age should probably call it quits at this point in time. And
Yes.
great fight to end it off with. Uriah Hall, a guy we've seen be a little bit vulnerable. So I think a lot of people are kind of talking about this fight very close. A lot of people say Anderson Silva is going to get the win. Let's talk about this one. A lot of things to mention. So kind of a interesting matchup in the sense of these guys are both sort of stand-up fighters in the sense that they're very different stand-up fighters. Anderson Silva's the type to be kind of Israel Adesanya, like use your reach, kind of get in the clinch, and I guess you could say Israel Adesanya is more Anderson Silva like, but just to make a reference, Anderson Silva is going to be the type of guy that he wants to get you in the clinch and use those Muay Thai knees, as he's done so famously throughout his career. I think one of my favorite fights of all time that you can watch is Rich Franklin Anderson Silva. A lot of people mention that one as well. But yeah, those Muay Thai knees was why I always talk about the Muay Thai clinch. Muay Thai clinch, shout out Anderson Silva for that one, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Put on a clinic with the Muay Thai knees. And Uriah Hall, everybody knows about Uriah Hall. This dude's got power with those spinning kicks, with the hands in general. But man, one thing people don't really realize is that, well, I guess people realize it, but at the same point in time, Uriah Hall also doesn't have the greatest of chin as of recently, because getting knocked out by, albeit Paulo Costa, Gegard Mousasi, Derek Brunson, and he was knocked out before that. You have to go way back to early on in his career against Chris Weidman back in Ring of Combat. I never even knew that. What? That is awesome. There's got to be a way I can watch that. But we're talking about this fight with Anderson Silva, who people talk about as having sort of people are saying that his chin may not be what it used to be, but how can you say that? Dudes have 44 fights, been knocked out by Chris Weidman. That's a legitimate knockout. He got knocked out in that first fight, and albeit he's kind of playing possum, I guess you could say, and just like backing his chin back and forth, gets clipped. He got knocked out. He's trying to have his head move and play the game, and he got knocked out. And then getting a TKO leg injury 2 times now, I guess you could say, with Chris Weidman. Obviously, everybody knows that one, and all the casuals love to mention to me, did you see that? Of course I saw it. Yes, I did. And then Jared Cannonier really was kind of a depressing finish, because it wasn't so much.
Oh, so sad.
It wasn't like a leg kick where it's like, oh, he hurt him, Anderson Silva is down. It was more of like Anderson Silva fucked up his knee and Anderson Silva's down. I think one of the moments you can at least look at and laugh at that moment is Jared Cannonier looking off in the crowd going, I'll let them wait. That was one of the funniest moments, man. It was hilarious.
That was a brutal moment.
Yeah, definitely bad moment. But man, Anderson Silva's got a chance to bounce back here. Hasn't had the greatest of few fights, or I guess you could say, like, what is it? 8 fights, 7 fights now. Getting a unanimous decision win over Derek Brunson. I've even heard people talking about that fight and saying Derek Brunson should have even got it. And then you get Jared Cannonier. That loss, obviously, Israel Adesanya, the champion, Daniel Cormier, Michael Bisping, all these losses, and then Nick Diaz, obviously. Who won that fight again? Anderson Silva, and then it was no contest.
Yeah, no contest.
Yeah,
but Anderson Silva won every round.
Yeah. Other than Nick Diaz laying on the ground and posing and all that. But
yeah,
man, Anderson Silva, just a legendary career. Can I pick Anderson Silva to win this one? I'm going to say I can't. So I would absolutely love to see Anderson Silva go out and get a win. And honestly, if I'm wrong here, I am not upset because I would really, really like to see Anderson Silva just get a win and just be able to call it a career. 35-10, just wonderful. That'd be awesome. But I got to go with Uriah Hall in this one. We haven't seen Uriah Hall kind of back off against some really, really no-name opponents. Gegard Mousasi, Derek Brunson, Robert Whitaker, Paulo Costa. Those are some very, very tough opponents. And then losing to them, even in knockout fashion, again, I can't put too much stock into that. Krzysztof Jotko knocking out him, Bevon Lewis, Antonio Carlos Jr. beating those three. Uh, we've seen this out of him. We've seen Uriah Hall have these wins, and being even on a 2-fight win streak. I just it doesn't look good for Anderson Silva. It really doesn't. And then even with being 45 years old, man, just fighting a power puncher in Uriah Hall and a very, very powerful fighter in Uriah Hall, and then kind of just getting it was the reason the Jared Cannonier fight or loss it was depressing was not only because Anderson Silva lost. It's just really the way he lost. If we saw Jared Cannonier TKO him and Anderson Silva goes down and blah blah blah, like, oh, Jared Cannonier knocks him out, it's like it's depressing. It's like, dang, Anderson Silva lost, but it's not depressing as in one leg kick, boom, fight's over.
Yeah.
Which is what it was. And especially seeing that from Anderson Silva before, um, obviously it was a leg kick from Anderson Silva that ended the fight with Chris Weidman, but just it's not something you want to see from a fighter that is legendary and a fighter that's older. Because it shows you wouldn't typically see a fighter at 25 years old, 30 years old or get hit with a leg kick and drop like that. Obviously it's kind of a freak accident, I guess you could call it, but I honestly think being 45 years old, I think that's the one thing that you got to put into play with that. So I got to go with Uriah Hall in this one. Out of respect, I'm not going to say if it's by KO, submission, or decision. I just think Uriah Hall is going to get it done. And honestly, I'm kind of cheering for Anderson Silva in this one because I'd like to see him go on and win, as I mentioned. But I also want to see Uriah Hall win. It kind of sucks. It kind of sucks that it's against Anderson Silva because I do want to see Uriah Hall have sort of a career revive, even though he's on a 2-fight win streak. But I want to see him contend. That's what I'm saying. So Anderson Silva, Uriah Hall. I got to go with Uriah Hall in this one. I want to pick with my heart. I truly, truly do. But I made that mistake too many times years ago, and I told myself I'd never do it again, and I'm not doing it again. So I'm going to go with Uriah Hall in this one.
Yeah, that's about right. This fight is just sad, I really want to see Anderson Silva go out with a win, and I think really everyone does. Now, does he possess the skills necessary? Of course he does. It's Anderson Silva, and to be fair, he has not looked that bad, minus the Jared Cannonier fight. I mean, he gave Adesanya his toughest fight outside of Vettori and Gastelum, but you can say that Adesanya was not going full effort because he didn't want to, style on his idol and knock him out. But I don't know. Whatever you say about that fight, it was still a close performance against the dominant middleweight champion of the world. But I've been listening, as I mentioned before, I've been listening to a lot of Saif Saud interviews, and Saif Saud is Uriah Hall's head coach over at Fortis MMA. And Uriah Hall does not care what you think. He does not care for narratives. Saif Saud has said, Uriah Hall wants to go out here and he wants to be the villain. He wants to spoil Anderson Silva's retirement ceremony. And with a mindset like that, he's not going to pay. If he's not going in there to pay any respects, that means he's going to go out and show out his entire skills. Because when put together, Uriah Hall is definitely one of the most skilled fighters in the middleweight division. It's just his problem is he's never been able to put it together at the right time.
We got to get that tough house Uriah Hall back.
Yeah, exactly. We have to get that version back. And we haven't seen him in a while. He hasn't fought in over a year at this point. So he has been training. He has been working hard. And he was originally preparing to fight Yoel Romero. Let's not forget that.
And then Jacare before that as well.
Oh, yeah. Jacare would have kicked his ass, and I would have loved to see it. And Jacare is going to destroy Marvin Vettori and make him look like, oh, can't. We're not getting into this right now. I love you, Jacare. Good luck. Uriah Hall. It's kind of funny because Anderson Silva, he was kind of said to be the next Anderson Silva. Uriah Hall, after that crazy spinning kick knockout there, like, this guy's the future. This guy's the next Anderson Silva. And he hasn't really panned out all that way. But, he is younger, he's faster, he's more powerful. I wouldn't say he's more technical. I still say Anderson has the technique advantage, but I think he's slowed down in his, like, especially his speed. Like, Anderson used to be, his strikes used to be so damn fast. Like, he could clown around, he would be in the middle of like dancing or doing some dumb shit, and boom, you're knocked out because you didn't see his strike coming. That speed that made him one of the greatest fighters to ever live has definitely kind of eluded him. It's kind of sad to see, and it's usually the first thing to go. Shout out to the Weasel who mentioned this out. Weasel on YouTube does good stuff. He said, in aging fighters, you'll notice that speed is usually the first thing to go, and power is the last. And he was mentioned that in terms to Fedor, who seems to still have speed on his punches, even at his advanced age, which is incredible. But Anderson does not have that same like pop on his punches anymore. Uriah Hall does. I feel like Uriah Hall is going to land what he wants during this fight. I don't think he's going to finish Anderson Silva. I think this fight's going to go to the judges, and I think Uriah Hall is going to win every round. And sadly, Anderson's not going to want to go out that way, so he's going to go fight in other promotions, and it's not going to be fun. I'm not looking forward to it, but I hope Anderson wins. But my brain is telling me to pick Uriah Hall, so I'm picking Uriah Hall.
Yeah, I think one thing that people got to put into factor with this one as well is that this fight's 5 rounds.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. You really expect this fight to go the distance, and it's like, do you expect Anderson Silva, as you mentioned, with the lack of speed that he's had, do you expect Anderson Silva to go out there and knock out Uriah Hall? It's just a tough ask. It really is a tough ask, man. And this is one thing. Does Weidman Silva 3 not make sense right now? I want to see that fight. But hey, we get Uriah Hall, Anderson Silva, a cap to a very, very legendary career, one of the greatest careers in MMA history, sports history, I will even say. Anderson Silva, man, he brought a lot of people into the sport. He inspired a lot of people, and I'd like to see him go with a win. I'm definitely rooting for him. I think a lot of people are as well. So make sure you guys let us know who you guys got in this one with your heart and your head, who you think you got. Where we got our picks, we're both going with Uriah Hall in this one. We both want Anderson Silva to win this one, but make sure you guys just let us know who you guys got. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, and check out the other fight pick videos.